19. Swear to God, I'm taking over 19. Hey, back, hit a $250,000. When it's here, pretty chilly. I've been trying to find me really wow. Silly, yo, I be gone like Cheerio. Really though, swear we finna get the gold. You the goat, but the most been getting old. Standing still, yeah, I'm getting way too cold. Like it's uno dos, I go single on these hoes. Dozen songs, dozen shows, guess that's just one way to grow.
All right, welcome to Dynasty Degens Rookie Profiler series. If you're a new listener or you're just tuning in for the first time, this is a series that we go over all of your favorite prospects, guys that you might know about, guys that you should know about, that you haven't heard about. And then I always sit down with some of the best analysts in the space. And tonight is no exception to the rule that I have. Obviously, you can see to my right if you're watching right now, and if you're listening, I am joined by Mr. Chev, the all-knowing ball knower. Chev at Chev90 on X. Chev, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Man, any day on this side of the dirt's a good one, brother. If I were any better, I'd be twins.
See, I love asking you that because I know you're going to say that, and that's, you know, I just know it's coming, and I enjoy that from you. I think I told you that backstage there.
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
and if you,
this is just fun, bro. Like we get to talk about football. Like we're you know, at this point we're 9 days away from the draft, and we're talking about, you know, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about one of my favorite players. I got to pick, so we're going to talk about one of my favorite players in the draft. So I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you, man. I'm always excited. You're somebody that I got to know pretty fast. We fast-tracked this relationship, and we've been talking a little bit backstage, and we've interacted quite a bit since I guess I joined PlayerProfiler, and I think it was a month ago, or maybe over a little over a month ago. But it's been enjoyable, man. I'm really glad that we connected. But the spoiler alert is Mr. Devin Neal. So we were talking Devin Neal today. He is a senior out of KU. So we're talking 5'11", 213. He was all 4 years at KU. He probably could have came out last year and been the RB1 of the class. He definitely would have been the RB1 of the class. To go over some stats from the past year. So 2023, if you're looking at this and if you're watching the video right now, you can see that he's stayed pretty consistent. His rookie year was actually not so shabby, you know, 707 yards. But he really took off his sophomore year. He really took his team was bowlless for I think 7 or 8 years before he really took off. And then he had that little breakout. So we're talking 1,090 yards. 2023, he bumped that up to about 1,500 total all-purpose yards. And then I think he had 18 touchdowns total. And then he matched those numbers pretty consistently the last 2 years. You know, there's no dip in his game. And if we're talking about the way that he moves, his agility, his burst, he does have good burst. He's electric on the field. You can really see that. And so if you watch the film on Devin Neal, you can see how electric he is. He doesn't have that speed, but man, that burst, the way that he just jumps in and gets off the line. I think that's what really pops when I watch the game film. Chev, this is your guy, brother. And I want you to just take the floor and you tell me why you chose this guy. You can go into as much or as little as you want right now, but let's just go back and forth and talk about the positives of Devin Neal and what we like about his tape.
So the first thing that jumps out to me is the fact that, you know, he did stay at Kansas for all 4 seasons. He was the first Big 12 Kansas running back freshman to win Big 12 Player of the Week. That's a huge accomplishment considering that, you know, Kansas is not very good. They're a basketball school, quote unquote. So that's the first thing that jumped out to me. And then he breaks out as a sophomore. I mean, and over the course of the last 2 years, I mean, we're talking about, you know, him going over 1,000 yards. This last year, he, you know, culminates his career with that 287-yard 4-touchdown performance against Colorado. And those are just the statistical accomplishments. From a film perspective, what I see is a guy who has very little wasted motion. He's consistently able to like squeeze through reduced surface area and get through the tiniest of holes. He's got incredible patience to set up his blocks. I mean, from a scheme perspective, he was pretty much even for his career in zone runs and gap runs. I mean, it's 343 to 407 per PFF. And I like his ability to like jump cut. So he can jump cut. There's 2-footed jump cutters and there's 1-footed jump cutters. And what makes him so unique is he can jump cut off one leg and, you know, get into like and get from point A to point B, where this is supposed to be a no yard gain or a 2-yard loss. And he consistently makes those. If you listen to anything I've said about Devin Neal over the course of the last, you know, 2 months, this is one of my favorite guys because he's consistently making something out of nothing. Now, I know most people don't really watch a lot of Kansas football. I don't watch a lot of Kansas football, but when I went back and had to watch Devin Neal, because I was like, one, I thought he was going to come out last year. And you made a great point that he was going to be the RB1 in that class. I was like, yeah, let's come on, man. Come, like, what are you doing? Like, let's get to the bag. Like, you're a running back, bro. You're not a quarterback. We got the film. We need to see what we need to see. So we're talking about 840 career touches, just 4 fumbles in all 840 touches combined, 739 rushes, you know, another 79 receptions. He has 26 receptions in 2024. So there's so much to love about Devin Neal from a film and analytics perspective. And personally, just in terms of rookie drafts, I'm hoping that we get a dip because of the fact that people who are just now getting hip to Devin Neal are going to say, oh, well, he didn't run a fast 40. So they'll start to discount him, and hopefully NFL teams will start to discount him just a little bit, not too much, but just enough to where instead of having to spend what he's been, you know, in ADP wise around like the mid-second or early to mid-second, like if I can get him back into the second or the third, I am absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, I'm with it on all that. You know, we're talking about a guy that has, I don't want to misquote this right now, but 115 career runs of 10 plus yards. So that's just, you get that ball in that man's hands and he's going to go off, and he's going to get you plus yardage no matter what. I never see him really take a loss. His ball security is elite. You're right. He doesn't fumble. He's very consistent as far as playing. I don't think he really misses games. You know, 4 years, we're talking about maybe 0 missed games. I think he's got durability. I don't have the exact number on that, but I don't think he's missed a game in his college career. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, but he's got that fluidity in his game, and it's very smooth. And that's what you want in a guy. He's got the hips that open up. He really can just move in a way, like I think they called him Nightcrawler, you know, in college, just the way that he moves. He's got that silky smooth movement. You know, it looks like he's gliding sometimes. And that's just, you know, I love watching guys that play like that because they're not rigid. They're not stuck in their motion or anything. You know, they have their hips opened up. So they're just like, they can go with anything. They can go with that motion. You know, you hear guys, especially running backs, that have no motion. Devin Neal is the opposite of that. Whatever no motion is, he's got that. He's got all the motion.
He got that motion. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's got that motion. He's moving, bro. And he shows versatility too. Like if you look at him and you break down his runs, he's run almost the same exact amount of zone runs, and then the gap runs are split even. And he's shown success in either one, you know? So I think he could really jump into most NFL squads, and depending on the scheme or the zone that they run, I think he's just going to slide in very easily, you know? And I know that we both love these guys because you were in a startup with me. We're still actually drafting the startup, but you've been trying to get them off of me, and I haven't really entertained it yet. And it's tough, man. It's tough when you got these rookies. It's you know, you don't really want to fumble the bag, you know. Like I think people could have traded Devin A. Chain pre-draft for a third in some leagues, and they were like, well, you know, I got him in the 15th round of a startup, so who cares, you know? But you never know, man. So I hold the bag, and then you and I feel the same about this guy, so don't take offense to that.
I mean, I've made a couple offers at you, and you pretty much said, hey, this is my guy. So, and I'm like, yeah, I know it's your guy. So I mean, you know, just let me know what the price is. But the thing is I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the scheme versatility. So we're talking about a guy who can flourish either if you're going to run him in zone, if you're going to run him in, you're going to run him in power, counter, gap schemes, traps. Like he's got the patience to allow his linemen to set up those blocks to maximize. And we're talking about a guy who's making chicken salad out of chicken crap. I don't know if we can cuss on here, so I'm not gonna cuss. But
Yeah, you can cuss, man.
He's consistently making something out of nothing, behind an offensive line that's less than ideal, and he's done it year over year over year. I mean, I don't know. Again, he's not going to get probably day one or day two draft capital. So we're looking at, the fourth round probably at the earliest. And at that point, I'm all in. I'm buying the dip because I think that he's gonna walk into an NFL locker room and they're gonna immediately realize, oh, this is a guy that understands how to run the football effectively because he's done it in less than ideal environments for years. So I'm excited. I am thrilled about Devin Neal. I can't wait. I can't wait to see where he lands. I do have, some favorite landing spots for him that I'm sure we'll get into as the episode goes on. But yeah, as far as the guys in this draft and how deep this draft is and what we're looking for, he's the least sexy, quote unquote, because there's not one thing you can point to. With Travion, you can say that's an incredible pass catcher who's going to hit the home run every single play. With Quinshawn, it's like that's a guy that's going to absolutely punish you. He's going to make the first tackler regret the day that he ever put on football pads. And you go on and on. Ashton Genty is, you have that one identifiable trait. To me, there's not one thing, but there's just so many different things that he does really, really well. And I think that we don't take into account enough the fact that he's doing this behind, with basically very little offensive help.
Yeah, and that's the thing about him is I think he's still going to fly under the radar because there's not an incredibly elite trait that he does, but he does everything extremely well. Like he's that fighter in Mortal Kombat or whatever. He's that guy that you take and you're like, well, he's not flashy, but like, he does everything extremely well. His moves, exactly what he's going to bring to the table. I think he's just that consistent guy that you're going to pick over and over again. And you're right. He might not get to an NFL team and completely take over immediately. I don't think he's going to just come in and demand the starting job, but I think he's going to come in and he's going to show that he's fully capable of taking the starting job. And he's probably going to come in as a 50-50 back. He starts getting third downs and then he gets the 2 down back and then he's sitting there working first reps. And then, I think it's just going to be that guy, just like we saw with Bucky last year, where he worked and worked and worked and he showed the team that he's the guy. And eventually they had no other choice but to give him the rock every day. And that's just how it goes, man. These guys, they shine through. And I think he's one of those guys that is going to be a gem in the draft, no matter where he goes, no matter what happens. But with all that said, is there anything that you do not like about his game? We're talking about everything we love about his game. Is there anything that you think could hurt him at the next level?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that hurts almost every single running back outside of maybe, Trey, there's a couple running backs that are really good in pass protection randomly, like LaQuint Allen is really good in pass protection. Travion Henderson is probably the best pass blocker in the entire class from a pass protection standpoint. So yeah, he's not great. He's not great at pass protection, but it's also something that I think that a lot of those guys they don't work on that at the collegiate level. They don't understand like scan protection and like how that works and, being an ally to your quarterback and, just being used as being able to be used and trusted in that manner. It's like the best way to end up on the bench is to let your quarterback get earholed or get hit in the back of the head and the ball comes out and you lose a possession because of it. So pass protection is one thing. I do think that in short yardage situations, I don't think that he's powerful, like explosive. There's, like I just said about Quinshawn Judkins, he's going to make you regret the day that you put on pads the minute that you try to come in and tackle him. There's a hilarious clip that I posted on a short for against Purdue, I believe, where a guy just comes in, he's almost at a standstill, and he just runs that guy over. Devin Neal doesn't necessarily have that. He doesn't have that type of that suddenness, but it's not a negative, because that's just, I mean, it's rare. But and top end speed, he's not, I mean, like we alluded to the 287-yard game from scrimmage against Colorado, but he doesn't have the burst, not burst, but he doesn't have the home run hitting speed. He's not going to outrun all the DBs to the end zone. He's not going to break a 75-yard run. But I don't hold all those things against him, because I mean, there's not a lot of running backs that are breaking 70-yard runs on a regular basis that aren't named Saquon Barkley or Jahmyr Gibbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I think what gets me sometimes, and this isn't a catch-all for him, and I don't think that he does this constantly, but sometimes he runs upright, and that constantly causes issues for him. And it's not the fact that he's losing ball security or it's his contact balance that goes when he's running that way. When you're running upright like that, your contact balance is closer to the earth you are, the less likely you're going to fall. And that's just how it goes. Especially when you're running, you're not going to just topple over. But if you're running straight up like that, I just have to nudge you for you to kind of at least fall a little bit, like to get the balance isn't going to be there, because you're not setting your feet and you're not really like moving the weight the way that you're supposed to. And I see that sometimes with him, because he's so like electric, where I think he just goes sometimes, and I don't think he even knows he's doing it sometimes, but and that's it. Like the contact balance kind of goes hand in hand with that. So I think he has to hone in on his excitement a little bit, because he is a patient runner, and he does, he has that ability to look out and anticipate. But at the same time, I think he gets overly excited and he runs upright because he just sees the opportunity, and he loses his, I'm not going to say mechanics, but I think he gets lost in the sauce a little bit. And it's just like when you're so excited, you're not thinking clearly. I think that's kind of what I see with him when I look at some of those upright runs that he has.
I would say, yeah, I would say that he's a very instinctive runner. And so he trusts himself almost, instead of becoming compact, he's like, okay, if I see where I want to go, I can get there. And it doesn't really matter. I'm looking and trying to pick and pick and pick. Like that's part of the patience. So I don't know if you can separate the two and still get the finished product that we have per se in, him being able to set up blocks and things like that. But yeah, the contact balance, I definitely agree with. There were some times where I saw, it's like, oh, I thought he was going to break that tackle. And, he gets brought down, where, like I said, he makes 3 to 5 yard gains out of the 0 yard gains. But at the end of that 5 yard gain, I'm like, oh, this is about to be a 15 yard gain. He did have 73 first downs, but there's times on the film where I'm like, okay, and this is just me adding full context to the picture. I don't want you guys to think Devin Neal is the second coming of Barry Sanders. So we're just level setting expectations. But yeah, sometimes I feel like the contact balance, he's not finishing through that contact. He's just, the run is finished. So he's just kind of being brought down where I feel like he could probably, where I thought that was going to go from a 0 yard, like a spectacular run, to just from a good run to a spectacular run, if you will.
Yeah. And this is an honest take, and this is how this show is normally. We go back and forth. We talk about these guys honestly, because if there was no negatives to talk about, he'd be our RB1 of the class. And that's just going to be how, like, if you listen to our Genty pod, I didn't have a lot to say, man. It was like, we were just like, he's good. And then he's like, yeah, he's good. He's really good. It was like, and it was the shortest rookie profile we had, because it was just like, there's not a lot of holes to the game.
Yeah, I mean,
That
there's
doesn't
nothing
mean
you can
that.
say. It's not a
Yeah,
negative. You can, you know,
yeah.
it's
It
just
doesn't mean we don't like Devin Neal. I love Devin Neal, especially like where he's going to go in the mid second. I think and that could change obviously, and we don't know for sure. But right now, his value as a rookie is the mid second, and that feels like you can't miss this guy at that range. And
right.
just by his traits and the way that he plays the game, you're looking around and you're looking at like there's probably that's like the Jalen Noel range and the Jaden
Mhm.
Higgins and those guys. And man, everyone's got so many wide receivers on their team, man. That you got to tap these running backs. And I like
This is
these
the
wide
time to
receivers a
do it,
lot,
man.
but this is the class, and you got to hope and pray if you're doing your rookie drafts before that. There's more likely a situation where these guys are going to fall into a favorable spot.
Mhm.
And these wide receivers in that range will probably be working their first year to get into a wide receiver 3 or 2 role. And it's going to take some time, and there's going to be some growing pains, even the top end guys like Odunze last year, like they struggled, man. And we were talking about him going against, the ghost of Keenan Allen to get some targets over there. So
Well,
it is
so
tough. Transition is tough.
yeah, so with Rome, I think that was more just quick aside on Rome for me. I think that was more so him being in a system that was completely broken. I mean, he was, I think, 8th in unrealized air yards. Then I mean, he was like 12th total in the league in unrealized air yards. I mean, it was set up for him to fail, and he still had 700 yards. I mean, it's the JSN paradox, and the thing is, people got sharper and didn't completely dump the Rome stock the way we did JSN. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think that's a sharp move. And I even had, we had some back and forth with Bradley Stalder, the news desk leader, about it in his best ball price and being like at wide receiver 18. Like, we're just getting sharper. We just saw JSN go through this, and we're not going to make the same mistake twice. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, in general, you used to. I mean, this was not even that long ago, but 5 years ago, before the boom of these elite wide receivers, it was a 3-year window. Like
yep,
you hold these guys at value for 3 years, and if they don't hit after year 3, that's when they start plummeting in drafts and value stocks and everything. So I'm with it. I like Rome a lot. Like I think that he was definitely in a bad situation. And it's not to say that we don't see these rookie wide receivers fall into that situation either. Like who knows? I think the Bears is definitely in a much better spot, and there are a lot of wide receiver needy teams, but I just love Devin Neal there, man. I love him in that mid
yeah,
second range.
100%.
And and
We're in alignment. I just had to throw
yeah,
that out there about.
yeah.
I just finished talking about Rome on another podcast that I do with an affiliate here, the FFD. We were talking about Rome, and that's how I had the numbers on top. Like, he's second unrealized air yard, like 917 unrealized air yards, and top 10 in red zone targets, deep targets. All, like, it just didn't happen because, a lot like Marvin Harrison, they just didn't give him any of the easy stuff. And if
Mhm.
you don't give a rookie a lot of the easy stuff, they're probably not going to have the level of success that you want. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to Devin Neal, because I fully agree that in the second round, right now in the second round, I'm comfortable pulling the trigger on Devin Neal, but I'm hoping that we get maybe some day 3 draft capital. Maybe he lands somewhere where we think that there's a locked in starter like the Houston Texans, and we can potentially. I mean, Joe Mixon missed some time last year, and they were messing around with, Dare Agumbawale and Cam Akers and all that jazz. I mean, if those are Devin Neal touches, I feel like that, we might get some back end RB1 weeks, or if he spikes some touchdowns, top 5 to 10 weeks. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Before
landing
we
spot I'm hoping for.
before we get deep in the landing spots, we're gonna kick it over to where we get all of our information. You know, we're talking about Player Profiler, and we're talking about the content that they provide. I think all the guys over there are doing a great job. You are a Player Profiler guy. I am under the umbrella over there. And we do a lot of rookie content, but they just pop their rookie draft kit out there. And it's something that I think benefits most people that have not done their rookie draft yet. I'm going to kick it over to them. They're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we'll get into our favorite draft spots. And I'm going to find this video, baby. There's a lot of videos. Here we go.
Theo Greminger is gone. We wish him all the best, but he did leave for us a great gift, the 2025 Player Profiler Rookie Guide. That's right. It is here. It is beautiful. It will help you dominate your rookie drafts this year. It features 60-plus player breakdowns, written primarily by Theo Greminger himself, as well as our proprietary NFL draft grades and strategy and tactics for dominating your rookie draft this year. We have a composite rankings with Theo's rankings, Cody, John Lobb, Jagger May, and Jax Falcone. It's right there on Player Profiler. It's $20. You won't find a better draft kit. You certainly won't find a better draft kit value. So go get it on playerprofiler.com.
Man, he's a lot, huh? I love that guy, but he's a lot, man. Yeah, go over there, go to Player Profiler, drop our promo code DEGEN, that's DEGEN, and you'll get a nice little slice off of that subscription. And then you can also go to Fast Draft, where you can draft these rookies straight up and then throw them in a best ball tournament. So Fast Draft as well, promo code DEGEN, DEGEN, and then you'll get a deposit match over there. But we got into our favorite landing spots a little bit. We previewed that. Where else do you want to see Devin Neal? Where do you think he can be a year one contributor at the range we're talking about? We're going to see him go.
I mean, we talked about the Texans already. Obviously, I think Tennessee is another place. I mean, I'm a Titans fan. You can see the Corey Davis jersey back there. I think that, with Tony Pollard's deal expiring and Tyjae Spears, like, we could see him get if this happens, we could see Tony Pollard kind of being phased out of the offense with the arrival of Cam Ward and Tyjae Spears and Devin Neal kind of sharing more of that workload. Like I said, they can get out of his deal for only $2 million this year. And so that's something to me I've got my eye on. I mean, as far as the NFC goes, Dallas obviously is one of the hot button spots. We've talked about his versatility. I mean, the last 2 years in Arizona, Clayton Adams, the new Cowboys offensive line coach and offensive coordinator, just led James Conner basically to career highs back-to-back, rushing for 1,000 yards in both seasons. 5 yards a carry last year, I think 4.6 in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. So that's, him going to the Cowboys is another great landing spot for me. If he were to land in Chicago. So basically all of the hot button spots, I tried to highlight a couple other places that I thought would be really good for him to land in, and potentially, if not, he's not going to be the day one starter there, but he's going to get some opportunity based on just who's there. And I mean, I really think that he could walk into a role where he's contributing on your team day one, just based on, oh, we have to get this guy on the field. Like, this is something that it could take a little bit of time. If he has a dynamic preseason like Bucky, we could immediately see him getting touches in that role, growing and growing and growing. Now, he's not the explosive stick of dynamite that Bucky is, but he's steady. He's going to do it the right way every single time. So almost any team in the AFC South outside of the Colts, obviously, I don't want him to go. I mean, JT's a maniac. So, but yeah,
he's in a contract year, man. I just wrote up an Indy team right up. And
is that extension already up?
Yeah, he's in a contract year this year, I believe, is this year. Yeah, they're looking at something. I mean, even Indy wouldn't be a terrible spot if they're looking at possibly moving off of JT next year. I think I don't know if JT's on that team next year, man. I think there's
Oh, that's tough.
going to be, they have to have a lot of things fall right for them to hold on to JT. I don't think he's going to want to do what is possibly his last contract year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You
So
know,
I'm
I don't
looking
think
at
he wants to.
Spotrac. I'm looking at
Yeah.
Spotrac right now. So yeah, the Colts. So yeah, any team in the AFC South, they can move on from JT after 2025 for a $2.5 million dead cap hit. So he's basically in the same boat as Tony Pollard, as James Conner. You know, those guys are veterans that can be moved on from. But I mean, the difference is JT would be, you know, going into his age 26 season at that point, as opposed to the other guys going at 29 and 30. So, or yeah, age 27 season. So yeah, I wouldn't, if what you just said opened my eyes. I thought there was an extra year on the deal to where we would be tied to JT. And, you know, with that whole front office being so, any team in the AFC South, basically, you know, you got Tank Bigsby, you got Travis Etienne in Jacksonville. He's on the 5th-year option or whatever. And then Tank Bigsby, I heard you and Jagger Jagger and Chuck talking about how you guys were, you know, way more into Tank Bigsby. But I think Devin Neal could easily carve out a role, and that's a whole new system, whole new regime down there. So that's something that we could, you know, we should have our eyes on and be paying attention to very closely. So yeah, those are just a few. What about you?
Yeah, I want to see him in that open zone scheme, which honestly is a lot of offenses nowadays.
Mhm.
But I know that this isn't a sexy landing spot, but Green Bay would be the offense that they run. I think he would just have a field day. I know that Jacobs is there. I think that the I don't want to kill my man back there, but like I think the backup role is almost wide open at this point, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, Jacobs is, correct me if I'm wrong, next year's his final year, and they could probably move off of him, or at least start to, you know, the transition that you see in the NFL
Mhm.
where they're split backs. I think if Devin Neal gets drafted in there, they could see that split backfield next year, and then he could be that one guy that you know, it might be the long game with that landing spot, but I think it's going to benefit him being behind Josh Jacobs and then flashing out, and we see like a Zach Charbonnet situation where it might be a year where they're split, and then whether it's an injury or they're looking to move off of this guy, they're probably going to, you know, flash him and show him a better workload. And then Cleveland is also another team that I think makes a lot of sense, because I think they could probably snag him in the 4th and, you know, pair him up with I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. If it's going to be Joe Flacco, I have no idea what's going to happen over there. But
Man, they've
if
got to
you
do something. We know they've got to do something. That's what we do know. We don't know what they're going to do, but we know they got to do something.
you know, I don't think Shador is going to be an option at this point, but I think they probably could loop around, have Flacco start, get a Jackson Dart, get Hunter in the 1st, and then grab a Neal in the 4th. And that offense is kind of electric. You know, like if you have Flacco throw into Judy, Hunter, and then you have a tandem of, I don't know if Chubb's coming back or what's going to happen with him. He's not under contract, right? Chubb is
Yeah, Chubb's a free agent. So it's
Chubb's a
just
free agent.
Jerome Ford. Yeah, it's just Jerome Ford and like Pierre Strong right now.
I mean, at that point, you know, I don't think they have the ability to take a running back early in this draft. They need a
No. I
they
mean,
they they're not going to be able to tap anybody until at least the 3rd round, and
right.
that's going to be a stretch even then. So that feels like he could be the RB1 in that team, like day one. You know, if that
That's a
plays
great
out
point.
the right way, you know, any running back that's going to be taken in the 3rd or the 4th to Cleveland, I mean, Ford isn't a bum by any means. Like he's actually
No,
got some juice to his game,
no.
but you could beat this guy out as a 3rd round, 4th rounder, you know?
Talk
So
about it.
there's definitely a landing spot that would boost up a running back pretty highly up the board. And that's Cleveland over there. So I think that is a a good spot. And then there's also the gimmies, you know, like the Broncos,
Right.
dude, the Buffalo Bills are going to tap somebody. And I keep talking
Yeah.
about this. Every rookie profile that has a running back, I talk about the Buffalo Bills because I'm like, Cook is not getting paid over there. They are, you know, they're holding out money for Josh
Yeah, I
Allen,
mean,
and then
he said he wanted 16 million a year, and it's like, man, I think you might be overplaying your hand a little bit, big dog. I don't think
if he's in such a good situation over there, you know what I mean, to be a top end running
right.
back, I would just eat it up a little bit. I know you want to get paid, I know you want money, but you're playing with probably the best quarterback in the NFL right now. That's debatable, but if you're talking about the best position that you could be in for as a running back, I think you want to be in Buffalo right now with that offense and that quarterback. You know, he's such a threat, and he has that open lane ability, and it's just like, I think anybody that goes there to take over for James Cook, I love that. And they might be
Yeah.
going early. They're going to go offensive early. I think they need, you know, Keon Coleman probably isn't going to be the guy. I don't think anybody thought he was going to be the guy, but I don't think he's even going to be a, I
You
don't
don't
know,
think
man. I
he's
don't
you
want
don't you think the book's written on Keon Coleman?
No, not written, but I think we're talking about the ceiling of a boom bust, like not a Gabe Davis, but like not that much different at this point. Like I think they move off Gabe Davis and they almost get a similar prospect in him where he could have really good games. He's got that long game ability, he's got that contested catch ability, but he disappears too. So I think he's
Yeah.
got to hone in a little bit, and like he has that same boom bust thing going on where Gabe Davis would get a 4 touchdown game and then he wouldn't do anything for 3 games and then he would just do it again. And you couldn't trust him at all as a fantasy asset. Like that's what Keon Coleman feels like right now. And I think that could change, but I think he needs somebody else. Like Shakir's awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, I like
We
Shakir,
have
but
to
I
have
think they
you've
need
got to have
somebody
some.
that's gonna, you know, Keon can open it up. You need somebody. Shakir's kind of in the middle. You need that intermediate guy. You need that other guy on the flank, or you need somebody that can really take that defensive pressure off the middle and really, like, if Keon's going to be opening up the secondary like that,
Yeah.
somebody
No, I
else,
mean,
somebody else got to go there. You know, I think they have to tap a wide receiver at some point, whether it's the 3rd round, 4th round. But there's some guys
yeah.
out there. You could get an
Yeah.
Elijah Badger in like the 6th round, I think, at this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too. I just finished talking about some late round steals, and Elijah Badger was a name that I wanted to bring up. I've been a Florida fan since I was like 9 years old. So watching him, and then, you know, him kind of flourishing this year in a completely different way than he was used in Arizona State, and, you know, averaging over 20 yards a catch. Like, that's a guy that could contribute, but higher end capital, yeah, they're going to go with somebody a little bit earlier than that. But to your point, Devin Neal landing there, I think he actually did land there in an ESPN mock draft that we used a few days ago to do landing spots. We actually did an episode with Matt, and we did a mock draft with landing spots, and he fell to the back of the 2nd round because he went to Buffalo. And I think that that's a really, really good landing spot. I mean, James Cook is due for some regression. I did think that they were going to get him the extension because I didn't think he was going to ask for $16 million a year, whatever, $15 or $16 million a year. So I thought they would get that done, but I don't think that that's going to be the case now. So, I mean, that's perfect. That's perfect for him just because of the way that they run offense. I mean, it's never going. The only problem is it's never going to be him as the priority option at the goal line. Josh Allen is the goal line back, the alpha and omega when it comes to, green zone, low red zone touches. So that's the only issue. But I mean, there's so much fantasy goodness to be had that I can't be too upset about it. We just saw James Cook score 20 touchdowns.
Yeah, and if we're talking about the backfield being Neal and Ray Davis next year, I'm all in, brother. You know, like,
Yeah,
and
sign
that
me up.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think Cook is going anywhere for this next season,
No,
unless it. I mean, dude, the NFL, the trade deadline and everything is very close to the NBA nowadays. Like the way that they're doing stuff, like the splash effects that they have, like it's like crazy. This past year
no,
was insane, right?
yeah, no. I mean, they're figuring out what the NBA figured out, and they're like, man, we can make a monetized product for every single phase of every part of every season. And so I think that I'm not going to say that, it's definitely not discouraged for teams to be active at the trade deadline. So, I mean, that could be something that happens. I mean, he could move, he could be on the move. I don't think that I don't think so,
No,
but
I don't either. But
we can never say never. That's the one thing we do know about the NFL.
yeah, now I know nothing. You know, like I always go through spurts of like, I think I know, but after last year, all that movement, everything that was going down, I was like, I don't know anything, man. I just think that, dude, it could be, I don't even know anymore. Like, I think the NBA is dying, and the NFL just took all its Monster juice, man. They took it all. They were
Oh
drinking the
yeah.
Michael Jordan water.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But
that's without question. Like I said, they globalized the product, and well, excuse me, they've monetized the product in a way in which they own every single holiday, every single phase of, media. The NFL is the top dog in. So I
yeah,
would
and
be
now
excited to see.
you need to stream it from 13 different streaming services now. They are absolutely everywhere. Now it's one game per streaming service, like in the season. You know what I mean? You need like 17 streaming services. They're on Nickelodeon now. Like you got to get like Nickelodeon app to watch
Which
a
is
game and
wild to
stuff.
me.
Like there's
That's
like so many, I don't know, like we got to get Hulu, and then where else are they? They do Amazon on
right.
Thursdays, and
And
then
Netflix on Christmas, and yeah, it's
Netflix,
wild.
and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's life is whatever, man. I try not to think about it, you know. Is there anything you want to add to Devin Neal before we get out of here? Anything that we missed or you were thinking about talking about?
No, man, just I mean, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about him. Like I think that this is one of the ones that people aren't going to see why if you just listen to, you just listen to a podcast and you're not really tapped into watching the film and really evaluating what you see. That's a guy that you're gonna you miss the value on because there's nothing that's going to point to him being an outstanding football player besides watching him be an outstanding football player.
Yeah, I agree. And if you haven't watched any Devin Neal, I have a lot of cut ups over on Dynasty Degens YouTube. So if you want to go check out some highlights, and I don't even do highlights, I just go through an entire game and I just cut them up, and you can see every play of Devin Neal from a couple games of last year that I have up there. He
Beautiful.
it's awesome, man. You know, I got to start doing that for Player Profile. I got to start cutting film up, and I used to have a lot of time on my hands. I don't have it anymore, man. Cutting film up is a process, man. You got to watch the game in slow motion. So, and
Right.
you're like, all right, you're sitting there hitting the space bar 300 times, but it's fun, man. It's a fun thing. You got to drink a lot of whiskey while you do it, for sure.
Of course.
Tell everybody where they can find you. I mean, I know where to find you, but tell everybody what you're cooking, what you're doing, any content you have coming up, anything that you just dropped that you want everyone to be watching at this moment.
So yeah, so we just dropped a mock draft of landing spots on Player Profiler. That video went up this morning. We're gonna do another one that's just me kind of placing everyone based on my evaluation and grades. That'll drop Sunday morning on Player Profiler. I'm a regular host. Well, I'm actually a co-host of the FF Dynasty now. You can go on, Spotify and find, my OG podcast, Two Guys, One Pod. I also host a Titans Uncovered show that I've been saving up some content for that because I wanted to really kind of condense it down for the draft and kind of get all my thoughts out there for that. And, I don't think we've announced this yet, but tomorrow, well, it'll air at some point this week. We're going to be rebooting the Trade Gods on the Player Profiler Network. So Jeremiah Retzlaff and I will be doing that. So
yeah, baby, let's go.
Yeah, just turn on just follow me on the old X and then just click on the stuff that I tweet or retweet. You'll find something that I'm doing. Just follow me there. And that's kind of where I am.
He's on X at Chev90. So at Chev90, he's a good follow, man. He's always fun to interact with, and he's just a good dude. So get to know Chev, go follow his content, find him on Player Profiler, and man, he's got the fires going everywhere, man. So he's cooking, man. He's on the rise up. I was just talking to him backstage, and I see you going to the moon, man. I want you with the Degens on some new pods and things that we're doing. So I'd love to have you back, man.
Hey, brother, I would love to be back, man. This was fun. Talking about prospects, talking ball 9 days out from the draft. Yeah, it's gonna be hard. My wife's gonna have to listen to me talk about, what we just talked about after she can hear me from the other room, but she's gonna have to listen to me talk about it for another 30 or 40 minutes. So yeah, this is always fun for me.
There's not a lot of pods where you're gonna find two guys talking about one prospect for an hour long. And it's hard to do, man, but it's not that hard when you're with a good dude and you're just talking ball, man. It's like we're hanging out in the garage right now. So
yeah, this is fun, brother.
Hell yeah, man. I had a good time. All right, guys. So we will catch you guys on Friday. So next episode on Friday, we are going to be covering RJ Harvey. So you will be able to catch us 2 times this week, and we appreciate you listening. And as always, thanks for tuning in to Dynasty Degens.
Right back to business as usual. Straight out of what's under my cuticle. I blocked it, they picked out my coffin. Ain't it funny how